Hi, guys. Hi, it's Dr. George here for Tucked In Tuesday. So, I am here to finish up our book, Dallas Tales, and our author will be in shortly. And guess who else? Dallas will actually be with us. So, Dallas will be joining soon. Hold on, I'm helping her now. So, give me 1 second. Just a second, guys. Oh, there she is. Well, perfect timing. So here she is, Miss Jones. Hi, Gail. How are you?
Hi there, I'm great, Belinda.
Great. You look beautiful for nighttime.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
We have our first is my great nephew, Riley. Riley likes to type comments.
So fun.
So while we're here, hi, Mike. How are you? I'm in Tampa for the RV show this week. Wow, Mike, you get around. So, Gail, I just have to ask, where is she?
She's coming right up. Hold on.
Here, Dad. Come here, big girl. Come here. Somebody wants to see and you. Hi, Ava, Ari, and Pop Pop. Hi, Dallas. Oh my God, the illustrator did so well.
Okay, let me see.
Hi, Dallas. Hi, girl.
Trying
I
to figure this.
reading about you.
What do you think? You want to say hello?
Say hello. Oh my goodness, is that not the sweetest? Well, Dallas, I am in love with you. I know you don't want to be bothered. It's almost bedtime. But Dallas, we won't take a lot of your time up. I wanted to say hello to Ava, Ari, and Pop Pop. Thank you all for joining. And Riley, my 4-year-old nephew, 5, he typed Pakua kicks, and he loves for me to read his words just as he typed them. I'm pretty sure he's laughing. So she's going to bring Dallas to bed. And if you all joined us last week, we started a chapter book, Dallas Tales. So we're breaking it up into chunks. So the little dog that you saw is Dallas. And we're actually going to read a book about Dallas or continue the book about Dallas. So Gail is putting her to bed. And Riley says, funny P birthday. Oh my goodness, Riley, you are using your words and your phonics today. So, yeah, I think we left off on the bus trip.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we're going to get caught up on the bus trip. And so last time he thought he was going on this luxurious trip and she had packed all this stuff and thought that you would pack all this stuff, but so Riley said, do you funny? Oh my goodness. Riley. All right, so let's see. You would think I would have the time of my life riding a doggy bus with 15 other pups like me. Geez, was I wrong? Don't picture a comfy ride with lots of treats, a cushy seat, and plenty of pillows. Oh no. The driver loaded us pups into kennels with no blankets or mats. I asked him, hey, do you know who I am? Oh, I'm sorry. I asked him, hey, does my mom know you're throwing me in a kennel with no mat, blankie, or pillow, and no kennel cover either? He seemed to ignore me, so I tried again. I mean, sir, do you know who I am? I'm a very famous dog. I am Dallas, star of Dallas Tales. And with that, he slammed the bus door shut and pulled away from the bus stop. I learned that the 15 other dogs on the bus with me were actually bound for another dog camp across Inks Lake, not Camp Meatloaf. We had not gone very far when all those camper pups began howling, barking, and whimpering. The toy fox terrier pup in the kennel next to mine was so frightened he began throwing up. I tried to tell him he would be okay, but he was terrified and began shaking all over. Finally, he went to sleep just as the bus engine settled into a smooth hum. I named him Foxy. Such a sweet pup. We rode that bus for what seemed like hours and hours. Surely we're there by now, I thought to myself many times. But when it was beginning to get dark outside and we weren't at camp yet, I figured this crazy bus driver must be lost. If he would let me out of this kennel, I bet I could show him the way, but that wasn't happening. And there was nothing to do but take a nap and dream about my cousins waiting for me at camp. I have to read these comments. So Riley said, am I handsome? Yes, you are, Riley. He's on his mom's phone. I woke up to see the morning sun streaming into my eyes. Mercy. I guess we drove all through the night, but Mama had said Camp Meatloaf was only a 4-hour trip from my home. This was ridiculous. Suddenly, I felt the bus coming to a stop and thought we must finally be there. Nope. The bus driver was only taking a break and enjoying coffee and breakfast. What about us poor pups? We were hungry, thirsty, scared, and tired. Plus, we certainly needed a potty break ourselves. When the driver got back aboard and started the engine, I decided to take matters into my own hands. It just seems like he's about to do something sneaky, hence my change of tone. Who was this goofball driving the bus anyway? I make a jailbreak once before when I was staying in a hotel room, so I knew what to do. I told the other pups that I was going to jiggle my kennel door open. Be really quiet, I said. I'm getting out first, then I'll sneak around to the kennels and then do those latches too. I worked quietly, and when I was finished, I instructed the pups to stay put until I spotted our opportunity to escape. I'll give the signal when it's time, I assured them. We'll break out of this awful bus jail. Surely we weren't far from camp by now. I was praying the whole time that God would somehow save me and the other pups. And he did. That reminds me, I have got to figure out a way to send Mama a letter telling her that I want her to pick me up from camp herself. I can't ride that awful bus home. Another hour passed before I heard the familiar sounds of kids playing. It was the other campers next door to Camp Meatloaf. I would recognize that sound anywhere. I saw kids everywhere, lugging huge lockers loaded with everything from home but the kitchen sink, and my mind began to wander. I sure hope they brought tons of snacks. Gigi, aka Mama, has been on a diet, and I haven't even had a peanut butter in forever. What? Can't rules say no peanut butter? For real? Okay, well, there at least better be Cheetos. They're my favorite. That's when I gave the signal to break out. All at once, every dog knocked open their doors and headed for the exit. That goofy old bus driver was standing in the doorway wearing a great, is it Pyrenees?
Pyrenees, maybe.
Pyrenees knocked him over like a bowling ball hitting a pin. That must be a big dog.
It's huge.
Oh my. When I bounded down the steps of the bus, the driver was lying on the ground, cursing a blue streak, screaming for us to come back because he hadn't collected the money for our trip. Every dog was in a hard run to freedom. I darted ahead and told the other pups to follow me. It may have been my first day at camp, but as they say, it was not my first rodeo. So Riley said, my mama phone. I'm on my iPad. Sorry, Riley. Riley's on his iPad, not his mom's phone. I apologize for that. Chapter 5, a busload of dogs. But I have to stop because I'm an educator through and through, and I just cannot get over this dog. So I want to look him up and share the picture with them, because if I'm like them, they have no clue. Well, look at him. He's gorgeous. Let me share the screen.
Yes. They guard big branches and keep wolves and coyotes away from the stock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, much like a donkey does out in the pastures. And they're great guard dogs.
Perfect. So that's them?
Yes. My sister-in-law had 2 on her ranch.
They are pretty big.
They're huge.
They're beautiful. Are they always white?
Most all I've seen are white.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. They must be native to somewhere very cold.
You know, I'm not really sure, but they survive down here fine.
Oh.
Yeah,
I was just thinking about their color of their skin. You know, they're normally the color of the environment they live in.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Yes.
When my cousins saw me running full speed with 15 other dogs, they almost fainted. They'd been waiting for me at Camp Meatloaf for hours, and they were about to give up. They thought a pack of dogs was chasing me into camp, but then they realized I was leading a gang of friends into the campgrounds. Bear, my big German Shepherd cousin, was the first to approach me and my newfound friends. He wanted to be sure there was no trouble, so I quickly assured him that everything was fine. I explained the bus ride dilemma and the fact that I couldn't just desert all these fine pups. They were meant to be at another dog camp across the lake, but it was too risky for them to go another mile with that crazy bus driver. So they got off the bus with me. I told Bear, we'll make room and work this out somehow. It was past lunchtime by this time, and with another 15 unexpected hounds to feed, we may as well have been feeding the 5,000 in biblical times. That's a lot. And Pop Pop says, from the mountains, he said, from the mountains of France and Spain. Oh, well, thank you for that fact.
Good to know.
Yes. Well, I said, the first thing I think we need to do is circle up and pray. The cousins were accustomed to our prayer circle, but the 15 new friends had never heard of such a thing. I figured it was time they learned to pray, so I called us all together. Okay, Bear, I said, I will start the prayer and you can go around the circle from dog to dog. Got it. Bear nodded. One by one, the cousins took turns calling out to God to help us find food and make room for our 15 friends to stay with us. When it came time for Foxy to pray, my new friend from the bus, he just stared at me without saying a word. Finally, he whispered, Dallas, I don't know how to pray. Foxy, just tell Jesus you need his help, I said softly. Then I told all the other new pups that if they did not know how to pray, they could just repeat what Foxy said. That seemed to set them at ease. So our big prayer circle began to pray very seriously, and everyone prayed for all that we needed. Amen, I said at the end when the last dog had said his prayers. Then I decided the cousins and I would take 3 new dogs under our care, pairing them by size. That went very smoothly. Whew. After we divided into groups, I asked Hank to go with me to scout for extra food and water around the camp. Felix had been going to camp Meatloaf since he was a young pup, so he knew his way around and told us about a house on the edge of a camp called the Big House. I asked the rest of my cousins to go with him to check it out. The porch there would provide great shelter for a bunch of pups. Felix said, as if it was also close to the lake where we could find fresh water. Meanwhile, Hank and I ran over to the dining hall where the kids had already finished eating. Great, it's pizza day, I said to Hank. Kids always leave pizza bones, but we dogs call leftover pizza crust. That's cute. They would be easy to carry in a plastic bag that Hank saw hanging by the door. Crust and water will be the first meal this year. Sounds a lot like jail. I told Hank on the way back to meet up with the rest of our cousins. Yep, that almost resembles the story about the 5 loaves of bread that Mama told me about in the Bible. Now, if there are 5 anchovies on that pizza, we'll have a bona fide Bible miracle. Dallas, you're getting carried away again, Hank said, trotting along beside me, carrying the plastic bag of pizza bones around his neck. I know, I said to Hank. I do get excited when I'm on a mission. Hank and I eventually met up with everyone at the big house on the edge of the lake with the feast in tow. All at once, 14 dogs almost bowled us over, grabbing at the bags of bread. Mercy, we were about to have a big old dog fight. Thankfully, Bear, Coco, Felix, Hank, Foxy, and Willow came to my rescue. They jumped in front of all those dogs and formed a barrier around me. Bear growled the biggest growl I've ever heard come out of him. He then reared up on his hind legs like a huge lion and yelled, "Stop!" The fabulous 14, as I was now calling that group since I didn't consider my friend Foxy one of them, quickly stopped in their tracks. Bear continued, "We don't act like this at camp, and we always say grace before our meals. We also share whatever food we have available equally with everyone. No one will go hungry. We'll have order in our camp." Bear told them to lie down, which they did. Then Bear said the most beautiful prayer for our food. Honestly, it was one of the best prayers I've ever heard. Afterward, he instructed the new dogs to stay, and then he delivered several pizza bones to each pup. If the new pups don't learn anything else at Camp Meatloaf this year, they will learn manners from Bear. I was so proud of the way he handled this situation. He is a ferocious presence, but gentle as a lamb. We were all tuckered out from all the excitement and setting up for camp, and I knew we would sleep well that night. After dinner, Fox even whispered quietly to me, Dallas, I think I want to know more about your Jesus. Oh, it's the sweetest. Now it's bedtime, and I have never been so scared in all my life. The crickets are singing so loud that I wonder if they're about to dive down and carry me away into the hills. I had no idea I was going to be sleeping outside at a camp. People. I guess that detail was also left out of the brochure. I don't know about these other pups, but I'm used to being an inside dog. Yeah, it's nice to just go potty any time of the night you want, but geez, it's dark and scary out here. At least my cousins are with me, but those guys are sound asleep. So this makes me a fraidy cat? Well, maybe so. There's a thousand things running through my head about now. And there are bears out in these woods. Are there bears out in these woods? Maybe bobcats who might sneak up on us. Then there's those rats. Yuck. I thought I could count on Lacey to scare them away, but I've since learned that she doesn't even care about rats. Incredible. A cat that doesn't have an appetite for rats. Even after I reminded her all about those great recipes I mentioned, with rat meatloaf being one of my favorites. Apparently, the highlight of the summer for the rat community is the first day when all us pups roll into camp. Did you know that rats come out at night and start gobbling up all the crumbs dropped at mealtime during the day? They have a big meeting just before camp starts, and Cleo, the rat chairman, divides the camp by sections and assigns everyone their territories. As Felix explained, Cleo gives the oldest rats the best areas nearest the kitchen. The young rats don't really care about which territory is assigned to them, as they don't need as much food anyway, Felix said. They just like to chew on things, like dog tails. That last comment got me thinking, yikes, get me out of here. Mom, come get me. I'm being eaten alive by a rat. Then I saw Lacey the cat sitting up on a tree branch, snickering because I was so terrified at the thought of being eaten by a rat. Just when I thought I'd never sleep tonight, I really thought I heard Mom's voice trying to calm me down. Okay, Dallas, I heard her say, I think Felix told you those stories just to scare you. In fact, a big dog told Felix the same story the first time he was at Camp Meatloaf years ago. In a short time, you will have the pleasure of scaring another young pup who is new to camp. That made me feel better. So go to sleep, she continued, talking in that soft and soothing tone I love so much. In the morning, you'll see that the schedule says all dogs are free to swim in the lake. What fun will that be? And then Felix interrupted my sweet dreams and added, just be sure to watch out for that big old alligator. Oh my goodness. And so appropriately titled, the next chapter, What's for Breakfast? I hope it's not Dallas. So, and I love these little paws in the front. Absolutely love those.
Aren't that cute?
They
Aren't
are
they cute?
so cute. I awoke to find Foxy standing directly over me. Merciful heavens. Foxy, what are you doing? I asked Foxy. Fox explained that he was starving. Those pizza bones were great and all last night, but I'm hungry, he whined. About that time, I began hearing what sounded like a chorus of dogs howling and barking down by the lake. I left Fox and ran to the shore to see what all the ruckus was about. I've never in my life heard such screeching, whining, barking, and howling all at one time. 14 dogs were being absolutely obnoxious. Thanks heavens for little Foxy. At least one of those newfound friends was normal. I returned to the big house and asked Foxy why his friends were acting like this. Foxy said, well, Dallas, all those dogs are from a very exclusive neighborhood back home. They're used to being served the best of food as soon as they wake up. They're very pampered pooches at Camp Ritzy Bitsy, you see. Pampered pooches? Seriously? Camp Ritzy Blitzy? I couldn't imagine what made this camp of theirs so fancy and asked Foxy what the deal was. Foxy began to describe what life was like at the camp across the lake. Well, for one thing, all the campers sleep in air-conditioned clubhouses on huge down comforter pillows. They are groomed daily and brushed each afternoon. All the dogs swim in a heated swimming pool that's just for them. Their dog is absolutely awesome and prepared by a world-class doggy chef daily. Little Foxy didn't seem very pretentious at all to me. So, Foxy, tell me, do you live in that neighborhood back home? I asked. Me? No, I live in the country, Foxy added. And I sighed with relief. He explained that he was just attending camp with a cousin. Thank heavens I ended up with Foxy as my pal. Brother, I told him, this is going to be a long summer for them. Just wait until those winter. I'm just now getting this. Those whiners find out how things really are on this side of the lake. Come on, Foxy. Let's go break the news to your friends that they're spending the summer at Camp Meatloaf with us instead. Our side of the lake was about as far from the Camp Ritzy Bitsy side of town as a dog could get. Camp Meatloaf serves us meals twice a day in the camp dining hall called Muskrat Lounge, but we also forage for snacks each day. We never know what we'll find, but that's part of the fun of coming to camp. We're camping out after all, and that's what you do on a camp out. As we walked over to find his friends, Foxy mentioned that he thought Camp Meatloaf was so cool and that the big house reminded him of his grandpa's house. Well, get along just fine, little Foxy, I thought to myself as we walked together. The Fab 14, however, was looking impoverished in their first overnight sleep in the rough. Where's our breakfast? Asked the standard white poodle, shaking the ribbons on her ears when she spoke. Her name was Miss Poodle Puff, and she had been telling everyone within listening distance about the exclusive celadon blue color of her ribbons since she arrived at camp yesterday. Did I say that word correctly?
Uh-huh.
Oh, good. It's just a fancy word for a light blue green color. Foxy, I whispered back. I couldn't help also pointing out that Poodle Puff's precious Saladen ribbons were hanging a bit sideways after sleeping under the big house. She didn't look nearly as Snow White either. Good thing she doesn't have a mirror, I said under my breath. Breakfast is not automatic around here, I informed Miss Poodle Puff and explained that we'd have to go foraging for whatever we'd be having for breakfast. Normally, we'd all be eating our regular breakfast in the dining hall at Camp Meatloaf, but with more mouths to feed, it was going to be a big job, and we'd need to find extra scraps. Scraps? Asked Foxy. Yes, Foxy. We eat lots of scraps out here, I replied. I don't know how Fab 14 will react to scraps, Foxy started to say. Well, I interrupted him. They can eat scraps or starve. I don't mind scraps, Dallas, Foxy insisted. In fact, he told me he normally has lots of scraps at Grandpa's house in the country. I wanted Foxy to experience the food gathering process, so I asked him to come along with me on a hike down the Muskrat Lodge. Foxy was very happy and seemed like a great team player. We found some more plastic bags outside. I love how they put their things in a plastic bag. Some more plastic bags outside the back door of the kitchen and saw several trash cans overflowing with yummy scraps from breakfast. After filling 3 big bags full, we began tugging those overloaded sacks back to the big house. When we got there, Foxy dropped his bags in a heap. Breakfast is served, Foxy proudly announced before I could stop him. Rule number 1, never holler. Breakfast is served to a hungry mob of dogs. Never. Foxy! I exclaimed. He forgot what happened last night and the lesson they learned about saying grace before meals. The Fab 14 were moving toward the piles of scraps, smelling the delicious scent of leftover bacon and toast, but they remembered what Bear taught them and quickly settled down. Hank offered grace for the meal this time, and I assigned each of the pups their eating places. Going forward, I told the newbies, this is going to be your assigned seating spots for every meal. After that, Hank and little Foxy began doling out the scraps in front of our cousins and each pampered pup. That's when the wailing began. Not only wailing, but such moaning, growling, yipping, and barking, and just about every song a dog can make plus more. Poodle Puff was absolutely mortified at the thought of eating scraps, and several of her buddies were as well. They began to leave their seats that I'd assigned them without so much as eating a single bite. Aren't you going to eat? I asked Poodle Puff. She threw her head back and replied haughtily, never. Squinting my eyes square on hers, I say very calmly, well, that's just fine. She and her buddies turned away and marched off toward a group of trees to pout. Foxy stayed with me and quietly asked what we would do with all the food they didn't eat. We can't leave it, Felix told Foxy. He knew never to keep leftovers around house that attracted all sorts of undesirable critters like wild coyotes and hogs. Foxy gulped really big and asked, coyotes and hogs? Oh, yes, Felix assured him. Come on now, we're behind schedule. We didn't get a chance to collect our luggage off the bus when we made our great escape yesterday, but at least I decided to wear my lumberjack hat on the bus, which means I'll have something to wear for costume night. Felix's mom had told my mom about how all the Camp Meatloaf staff and camper pups dress up on costume night. She even packed me another costume, a beautiful dragon with wings and a long tail, so I could decide later which one I wanted to be. Now that was all gone, along with my favorite pink crown pillow, my blue bone, and all those treats for my cousins. Oh well, the first full day at camp was crazy. I could see that my cousin Coco was already homesick, so I kept her close to me and Foxy. We made fast friends with the other dog campers and learned that many of them had been coming to Camp Meatloaf for years. Since it was our first year, we rookies didn't understand how things worked, like where to get food, water, and treats. All the older dogs took us under their wing, and in no time at all, I knew where to find everything a dog could want. They even told us about how the kitchen staff leaves treats every night outside the kitchen door before bedtime. I was very excited to see rat meatloaf on the menu for dinner. I can't wait to see the look on Coco's face when she sees that meatloaf in her dog bowl. I bet her beautiful white furry face will turn green after I tell her what she's been eating, but it's really, really good. If only she'll taste a bite. After we took a look around camp, the Camp Meatloaf staff said we could go off and play. We had such a big day swimming in the lake, running all over, chasing rabbits, and trying not to get in the way of the campers who share Inks Lake and the Muskrat Lodge dining hall with us. The oldest pup is always the master storyteller for camp each year, so that privilege belongs to a dog named King. He's not a cousin, but I like him just the same. No one messes with him. He's one big bad rockwaller and has a bark that could scare the horns off a longhorn. That's definitely Texas. When the other dog campers heard about our great escape from the bus, they nominated me as camp chairman for the week. They even had a special space all prepared for me to sleep. It's going to be dirt floors under the big house porch or camp house under the stars for me. After dinner, we played some more until it was time to head to bed. Before I hit the hay, I went to check outside the back door of Muskrat Lodge for any leftover treats. Unfortunately, the big dogs beat us to it. I have to post a pup there tomorrow evening early to guard those treats. I went to bed expecting a good night's sleep, but that wasn't going to happen. So we're going to stop there. So I thought I had it figured. I figured that he was supposed to go to the Ritzy camp, but he thinks he's on the wrong bus. So I'm not sure yet. I do know that he's with a bunch of dogs that he doesn't know. So he doesn't live in the same neighborhood. So this book is written really well, where it leaves every chapter leaves you wondering what's next.
That's what I did to my grandchildren as I wrote the letters.
Oh my goodness. So I have a question like I asked you last time. What is your favorite out of the 3 chapters I read tonight?
Probably the very introduction of all those 14 dogs and description of something like Poodle Puff was a real fun venture to name her. And I could just see her throwing her head back and prancing around like she was, those big standard poodles are just so snotty looking. And so I love describing her and getting her reaction. And she'll play out in some following chapters as well.
Love that. I think my favorite part was when it taught him to pray. And the dog that says, I don't really know how to pray. I think that was a sweet touch in this book. And like I said before, the personification here is like no other. I mean, I can picture, I used to tell my students all the time that you'll know if your paper is written well if I can draw a picture based off of what you wrote.
Thank you.
And you did exactly that. I could draw each character.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh,
would you like to see Dallas in her outfit that she wore so she could wear it to the costume contest?
Yes.
See if I can get it there.
Dallas. Oh, sweet Dallas.
There's no way I could have got her dressed up, but thank you for Because actually, as I would write that along, I could begin to visualize those characters as well in my brain. And so it helped when I was writing further chapters to be able to image that in my mind, thinking about them. Although eight of the dogs were dogs that are in our family, the 14 were not. So those were fictional dogs. And
Okay.
so that was, but I could begin to develop a picture of those in my brain as well, like the Great Pyrenees, because I knew a Pyrenees, had seen a couple of those.
But I mean, just the big house. I can draw the lake. I can draw the yard, the porch that they're on, the tree that they went under the powder bow. And it's just so well written.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Thank
well
you.
written. And we still have a few more chapters to go. We'll do like 3 a night until like we're done at 8 o'clock. My Aunt Priscilla is on here, and she said, I agree that the names of the dogs were neat. I could visualize the dogs. So,
Interesting. Thank you.
yeah, so Gail, we'll get back to those. Any parting words from the 3 chapters that we read?
Um, I'm glad that you liked the part about the prayer. And because, again, I was writing to my grandchildren, this whole book was written to my grandchildren. And I was so trying to impart information to them because they were younger when I started. They were probably 10 or 11 years old when I started these chapters to them each summer. And so I was wanting to speak to them through a letter, even though it was a fictional dog, and help them to see certain things about life.
Great job. I can't say that enough. Dallas is well written. I want to keep reading, but I can't read because I never read them in advance.
That's so
Um,
deep.
and I wanted to tell the kids, did you notice how, and adults, how if I thought I was saying a word incorrectly, I was okay asking Gail. Do not be afraid of a word in a book. If you come to a word or something in life that you're not sure how to do, ask for help. There's always somebody that can help you. And Gail never laughed. I would just try it and say, did I say it right? And she would say yes, or she would say, I think it's pronounced. But it didn't stop me from reading Dallas Tales. So I'm excited to know the next chapter is called Coyote Aztec. And that just sounds like somebody's going to be running, somebody's going to be afraid. So I'm interested to know how the rest of it will go. So, any parting, and you gave us parting words for the last 3. Is there anything else you want to add before we move on?
Well, I recorded this book, the audio version of the book. And when I was recording that, I mispronounced Pyrenees. And I'm trying to remember the correct pronunciation because the person taking the recording told me how it was pronounced. So I'll have to go back and listen to my audio book and see if it was Pyrenees, because I always thought it was Pyrenees, but I think it is Pyrenees.
Pyrenees. Oh, well,
Great, they're called Great Pyrenees.
great. Are they bigger than Great Danes?
Uh, no, they're not quite as big, but they're huskier.
Oh,
They're built a lot like a big husky German Shepherd, but they're just very large. I mean, they're very. Some of them are bigger than others, but they are quite imposing dogs.
oh,
And
wow.
there was a story actually about one that fought and killed, I think, 8 or 10 coyotes while he was protecting his herd of sheep.
Oh, wow.
That happened not long ago, and that was quite the story. And
I
he
bet.
survived, but it was a very big battle.
Oh, I bet. Now I have to say thank you, Gail, for having Dallas warm because it is cold tonight. And
Mhm.
I don't think the dogs in this books would make it here in Beaumont in this cold. They're barely making it now. Um, so I'm curious to know what they'll eat, but I have to wait, like the rest of you, until next Tuesday if to see if the fancy dogs are going to eat, what's going to happen, what's going to change. So I'm just as invested in this as you all are. So if you'll meet me back here, we don't, because of the weather, we're both virtual because it's kind of nasty to be out in the weather tonight. So either I will be there at Gail or Gail will be here, or it may be virtual. It all depends on next Tuesday in the weather. Well, hello, Genesis. It's great to see you. I saw your brother Sunday. I don't know if he told you, but as one of my former scholars. So, guys, I want to tell you, as I do every Tuesday, if no one else tells you, Dr. George loves you. Continue reading. And I don't want to give anything away, but I know that Gayle is talking to some very important people in BISD. So, this book may be read by lots and lots of kids. We shall see. So, if you don't have Dallas Tales, Amazon, as you're listening to it, please go and leave her a review on Amazon. That helps to bump her book to #1. And Mike says it's going to be chilly in Tampa tonight, wind chill advisory. Yes, Mike. And I think Florida is the warmest out of all the states. So consider yourself lucky that was on the news that you all will have the warmest temperatures. Do you have anything, Gayle, that you'd like to add?
I just appreciate you reading my book so much in the comments tonight. That's so wonderful. Thank you very much.
Oh, I really good job. Really good job. I must say. I keep flipping through, hoping that a picture or something will pop out. I'm going to put it down. I want to keep it. But thanks, Gayle. We'll be here, Lord willing, and the creek doesn't rise next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Thank you, Gayle.
All right.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good night, guys. Rest well on purpose. Good night.
Thank y'all for